generation. I wanted to do a film, a slasher film that was for Gen Z and was like a gateway horror film. Um, Really, that was like theirs for the first time.
He's practically a local legend.
Hi, Light. It's a pleasure to talk with you today. Congratulations on Clown in a Cornfield. And our audience in the spoiler is very excited. So I'd like to start with a few questions. Uh,
Mhm.
First of all, Clown in a Cornfield is based on an Adam Cesar's novel. What drew you personally to this story, and what challenge did you face in adapting it for the screen?
Um, what drew me to Adam Caesar's novel was his unique take on the slasher genre and his sort of respect for Gen Z. Like so many times in these horror movies, the younger generation, they're just there to kind of be laughed at, or there's this treating them like they're all idiots. And this film, both kind of you try to do both. Like they're a little bit laugh at them and they do some stupid teenager stuff, but you also sympathize with them. And so I wanted to make really a horror film that wasn't a remake, that wasn't,
Mhm.
we're not doing redoing the Scream franchise or, redoing the Blob. I'm finding out like everything's kind of a remake for this generation. I wanted to do a film, a slasher film that was for Gen Z and was like a gateway horror film. Um, Really, that was like theirs for the first time.
Okay, okay. Uh, I'm a great fan from a slasher. I mean, the slasher genre has a long tradition from
Mhm.
Halloween to Scream, as you said it already. Uh, so this is a necessary question. I mean, you say it's not, but there is an honor to those influences while also bringing something fresh to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's exactly it. I mean, I wanted to play with the tropes and honor the movies that came before while also kind of twisting them and adding something new. There's something so fun about sitting and watching a horror movie where you know what's going to happen, or you kind of like are choosing, is it going to be that killer or is it going to be this killer?
Mhm.
And to me, I spent a fair bit of time honoring those tropes in the beginning of this film and
Mhm.
kind of setting it up, hopefully that everybody thinks it's going to go in a certain direction, and then trying to twist that all up from the second half of the movie on. So everything gets a little uh, both modernized and just thrown in a different direction.
Okay. Uh, it's also said before we return to the whole movie, it's necessary because we are talking about slasher films. Many slashers become cult favorites that thanks to their brilliance. Do you
Mhm.
envision Frendo as a one film monster, or could he become a recurring horror icon?
I think Friendo, I mean, when I made Clown in a Cornfield, I already knew there were two other books and a third one coming, and now there's a fourth one coming. So
Yeah.
Adam Caesar has been committed to Clown in a Cornfield for a long time. And part
Mhm.
of the thing was creating a killer clown that could carry on through multiple movies, right? So I'm hopeful, and we're not like shooting it yet, but I'm hopeful we're going to make a sequel to this, and then possibly another one, because I think Friendo is unique.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clowns. There's that, but this one is not. He's like borrowing a little bit from all of them, but he's very much his own style.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, that's the next question. The character of Frendo, the clown, is both terrifying and, and symbolic. How did
Yeah.
you approach translating him from the page to a visual and so astonishing cinematic presence?
So this guy, huh? So
Yeah.
this guy, he's we made this mask. So the starting point was really the book, right? And Adam wrote quite a bit about who Friendo was and what he symbolized. But his starting point was that he was a salesman clown and he was on the label of the Bay Pen corn syrup factory's corn syrup. So he was like a Ronald McDonald kind of clown. And this was from the 30s and 40s with this prosperous America that was doing very well in its manufacturing business. And cut to now where small town America is sort of hurting and the town has found the factory has burnt down and they're really struggling. And so this was a symbol for like the American dream, really, that was so hopeful and promising back in the day and this jolly clown, but now it's sort of warped and demented and vengeful. And so it represents like two sides of America, really, the duality of the American dream, which is that hopeful sort of,
Oh,
manifest destiny and just sort of the loss of it, which is angry and violent and vengeful.
yeah. Uh, I have to say it. The film mixes glorious slasher elements. I mean, we talk a lot about them, but there's a lot of moments of dark humor that's one thing that I really appreciate a lot.
Yeah.
How did you find the right balance between horror and comedy without losing the tension? Because that's awesome. O sea, I mean, there's this all these happenings, but there's these comic reliefs that don't miss the tension.
I hope so. I mean, that was the goal for this. And so every film to me is like experimentation and, I'm trying to get it right with the potions I'm using. But that was definitely the goal was to have these comedic moments that kind of break from the horror or make you laugh, but then to get right back into it. And then to even have these comedic moments as tension is rising around you, which are about like personal discovery. And I just love those moments in a film where people are finding out more about themselves and others as they're being like hunted down and killed. And
Mhm.
yeah, and it's funny the reveal on things like people's reaction to what's happening is funny. And to me, it's always like grounding it in a reality. I don't want it to reach. I don't want them to be reaching for jokes, but I want the situation to be
Mhm.
very funny and so that the audience is like seeing the humor in it, but the characters are really not.
Okay, okay. Um, Queen and her father's relationship is a central to the story. How did you work with the actors to ensure that the emotional core of the film didn't get lost amid the bloodshed?
Well, that was really important to keep the theme of this father-daughter relationship is key. There's also some other relationships that are maybe a spoiler that end up being key. Um, but to me, it was finding the right cast, that could hold. Like if this movie was a drama, they would do great at it, and be very real and deep. And and then the movie veers into horror, and you're really worried about them because you end up caring for these people and you want them to live, but you're not really sure they will. So that was the goal. And I think Katie Douglas playing Quinn was just an amazing find. And Aaron, who played her dad, was just very natural actor. Um, so I was blessed to find the right cast for that.
Okay. I have to say that this question, I mean, I often don't doesn't do it, but I really had this question. What was the most difficult scene to shoot, either technically or emotionally, and why? Because we already talked about this comedy, this relation, father daughter, and
Mm.
I mean, what was more difficult to shoot?
Yeah. Well, there were so many difficult things that I could just go through the days of shooting and Charlie Lister. But there was the physically difficult thing of just running through corn. And, these actors, this isn't fake corn. We didn't like, the ground isn't level. It's muddy. Corn is actually kind of sharp and the kernels can be, and corn cobs hurt if you're running full sprint through them. So, tracking and running with the actors through there with one of the actors with a chainsaw and all that is really hard to do. But I will say that probably the hardest scene was inside of the shed while we have uh, it being smashed down by Friendo outside. And there's this sort of reveal and like emotional reveal between two of our characters inside that we have to time out perfectly, right? So that the smash, we're not losing the tension from outside and we're keeping the emotional impact of the scene alive on the inside. And we have the reactions from our other characters. And it all just had to be lined up perfectly in a few hours. So,
Okay.
that's the hard part. And as the sun's rising, we're getting our last shots in for the day. Um, and we didn't have a lot of money to like, if we had to reshoot something, we had no reshoots on this film. So we had to get it all done then and there. And that was the hard part.
Okay. Before we ended with this so great talk, uh, look, if we look to the broader landscape, we see that slasher films are slasher genre is on top. I mean, we are half Scream 7, the I Know What You Did Last Summer, etc. And how does Clown in a Cornfield fit into that future?
Um, well, I think that Clown in a Cornfield like is its own thing, right? It can fit into that. We have all these reboots, first of all. I mean, I
Mhm.
love the Scream series. It's my favorite series probably of all time, but we're on Scream 7, right? We have I Know What You Did Last Summer being brought back. Uh,
Mhm.
we have very few new slashers. And
Yeah.
I wanted to make something that was like a gateway film for Gen Z. The first time I saw Scream ever was I went to the movie theater and I brought my younger brother and sister who were like 13 and 11 at the time, and they were way too young to see it. In the opening scene where Drew Barrymore gets attacked and killed and your guts are pulled open, I'm like, oh God, I'm destroying my brother and sister. They're never gonna make it through this. But it kind of opened up. They are lovers of horror now too, and I wanted to make something that was like the gateway horror film for a new generation. And I think a lot of the Gen Z people who see this really enjoy the humor and the heart, and also the horror and the kills. And we're not talking down to them, and it's not like impossible to view. It's not tortury. Like we have this like gory stuff, but then we get away from it. So I just want to basically I just want to disturb a new generation of youth with Clown in a Cornfield.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Eli. We can wait to see how audiences in Mexico react to El Payaso del Maizal. Before we wrap up, could you send a quick greeting to our spoiler audience?
Oh yeah, yeah. You want me to just say hi to the audience?
Hi to spoiler audience. My name is, and go to the movies to see, because in the at the theaters there's where we can react to this film. I
Okay,
mean,
okay, okay. Muchas gracias.
whatever.
Vamos a ver la película. Mi película, um, Payaso del Maíz. Es muy scary. It's very scary. Go see Clown in a Cornfield. And thank you guys. Thank you for checking it out. I really appreciate you seeing it in the cinema.
Thank you a lot, Eli. Thank you.